wrestling is here. Dragon Angel.
He's also suffering from anal bleeding. What?
Is this match still going on? The dog poop! All right, Bob, and a dog poop! Mercifully, it's over.
Ho, 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 and welcome to the Christmas special of the Crap Wrestling Podcast. The podcast all about crap wrestling, which is also a crap podcast about wrestling. I am one of your hosts, Matt Burgess, and I am joined by the only penguin I know that is also a door-to-door salesman. It's Weston Hughes. How are you, Weston?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm glad to be back for episode 2 of the Crap Wrestling Podcast. It's the biggest thing to happen to podcasting since Joe Rogan went to Spotify.
We're massive. No podcasts out yet, but we are huge. Last week focused on Goldberg vs Lesnar at WrestleMania 20. I realised that towards the end of the podcast we were supposed to recommend a couple of good matches of theirs, but I don't think we did. I know for Goldberg we talked about Goldberg vs Dolph Ziggler at Summerslam 2019.
Very good match.
Did you have any, Weston?
I'll tell you what, I watched the documentary on the network literally just last night, which was covering Goldberg's streak in WCW. And if you want to watch good Goldberg, watch that documentary and then just go back and watch anything from the mid to late 90s in WCW. I think he started in 97, and that is just prime gold. Like, I couldn't pick out an individual match because I'm not too well versed with all the WCW stuff, but everything he was in then was good, really.
Yeah, I think it came to a bit of a halt once he lost his first match. Once he lost that first match after that.
174, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, it fell apart a little bit after that, but yeah, definitely go back and watch any of them. And for Lesnar, embarrassingly, mine is Rollins versus Lesnar, also at SummerSlam 2019, but I do promise I have watched other pay-per-views than that.
Just only SummerSlam. Just SummerSlam.
I've just watched SummerSlam 2019 over and over and over, and I will bring it up on every podcast.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's a good Lesnar match, actually. I'll send it to you.
Go on.
It's The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell.
Pick one of them.
And it's fucking very, very graphic, gruesome, and it's a fucking good match, man. A good match.
Wicked, yeah, go check them out. Today's match is Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 2005. So, Weston, tell us, why is this match being brought to the Crap Wrestling Chamber?
So, it's well documented, the overselling in this match that makes it a crap match. It's funny, it's good, it's Shawn Michaels politicking, Hulk Hogan politicking, and yeah, it's just that's why it's on the table as a crap match, I think.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's definitely parts of the match, and we'll go into this later, that are decent. There's the second half of the match is okay, although you do get some hilarious overselling towards the end, but the first half, in my view at least, is just embarrassing. It's Shawn Michaels, every punch that Hogan gives, he starts flopping around like a fish, like he's been electrocuted, and acting like he's about to die after every touch, which I'm sure Hulk Hogan is incredibly strong, but I don't know that he's worth that.
I quite like it, I'm not going to lie. We've spoke about this before, me and Matt, and anything Hulk Hogan touches is gold in my eyes, and I quite like it, and I believe he is that strong.
I wouldn't like to take him on an arm wrestling match, that's
I believe
for sure.
he is that strong to do that to someone.
So let's get into the wrestlers. West, what do you know about Shawn Michaels?
He's just one of the all-time greats, Silly Michaels. I swear, the billing of this match and everything, it's just, you've got the absolute Mount Rushmore of WWE, really, haven't you? I would say, like, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s wrestling, it don't get much better than Shawn Michaels, does it? He was the best at one point in the 90s.
It's interesting you say about Mount Rushmore, actually, because we were talking a bit about JR last time and how he is one of the most knowledgeable people in wrestling, and JR puts Shawn Michaels on his Mount Rushmore. The other definite is Ric Flair. He said he's unsure about the other two.
How can you not have Hogan on there, man? How can you not have Hogan on there? If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, and I'm sure I'll say this with confidence, wrestling would not be the same as it is today. We wouldn't be sitting here watching the product like we watch today. So yeah, he's a dick and he's done all this horrible stuff outside of the ring and all the rest of it, but he's not even WWE, I was just about to say that. He is professional wrestling. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, and we'll get into Hogan a little bit more later. I was just wondering about Hogan, in my view, is, like you say, one of the great wrestlers of all time. Is he particularly good in ring? Not in my view. But Shawn Michaels undoubtedly is one of the best of all time in the ring.
Shawn Michaels is, I would say. And if he's not now, because you've got all the Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega and all these guys now, if he's not, he made the style, the modern style of wrestling, truly what it is. He was one of the people that put it into place the way it is now. He's like, not your classic 90s wrestling build. He's slim and small and athletic, and he's just so fucking good.
You look at some of that at SummerSlam 93 when Brett takes on Shawn, and you're literally looking at two of the greats. Bret Hart is well known as the excellence of execution, not of education. He's not a teacher, as far as I'm aware.
He did fight the Dean, though, didn't he?
He did what, sorry?
He did fight the Dean. He was a teacher, Dean Douglas, when he was in WWE. So
The Dean.
the Dean, yeah, Dean Douglas.
Tell me about the Dean.
Shane Douglas, who was ECW champion and was like massive, like well good heel. He had, I want to say, a year, but it could have been short WWE run as the Dean Douglas, and he was a teacher, a dean of a university. That was his gimmick.
I do not remember that.
It
Did he
was
wrestle on
fucking
a
terrible.
wallboard?
I don't know. I don't believe so. I haven't watched much of it, but yeah, Bret Hart isn't a teacher, but he may well have wrestled a teacher at that time.
Shawn Michaels, on the other hand, is actually teaching, or coaching rather, in NXT.
Yeah.
If you listen to Adam Cole, who I see as the best wrestler in the world at the moment, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people to debate me on that, but he puts a lot of his good work down to what Shawn Michaels has taught him. You can see a little bit of Shawn's style coming out in Adam Cole, and always very impressive.
I was going to say, as you went talking about Bret Shawn at the 93, or if you want to see prime Shawn Michaels, I'm pretty sure it's WrestleMania 10. There's the ladder match against Scott Hall, which was at a time when they weren't doing a lot of stuff with weapons and ladders and all the rest of it, and it's a brilliant ladder match even by today's standards.
Yeah.
And that's against Razor Ramon now. He wasn't called Scott Hall.
And I know we've gone into it a little bit, but with Bret and Shawn, they pulled into the new era, as it was labelled at the time. So obviously you've got your Attitude Era, and you had prior to that, your cartoonish gimmicks. So you had IRS, the wrestling tax man. I'm not going to put any shit on IRS's name. I think he's one of the greats.
Isaac Yankem.
Isaac Yankem, the wrestling dentist.
Shane the Dean Douglas.
Dean Douglas. Who I'm completely unaware of until this moment, but I'm pleased to have heard about him.
I think me and you was talking about it, just about how shit that era of wrestling was the other day in 1995 compared to how good WCW was.
They had a stacked roster. You know better than I do.
It was out of control. We were speaking about it the other day. WWF had Shawn Michaels, Undertaker.
Oh right, yeah.
WWF had The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, who was leaving, Stone Cold on the come up, and that was literally it. WCW's roster was just stacked. But yeah, we're going off topic here. 1995 and that sort of era was a shit time for wrestling as a whole.
Definitely.
Or WWF. Definitely.
Yeah, and there's quite a lot of stuff about what the financial situation was like in WWE at the time. Not good at all. I think there's something along the lines of that people said that catering was literally sandwiches only, which is obviously a mile away from where the WWE is now, where they're financially the strongest of anything, even way beyond AEW, even if Tony Khan does have a lot of money behind him.
Can't be anything on what they're stacking, can they, at WWE, really?
Especially when they're firing all of their talent at the moment, they must be raking it in even more. I suppose just going on from there, that you've got the really famous falling out between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, which I think deserves a mention. That obviously you had the sunny days remark. In a promo, Shawn said something along the lines of, I'm sure Bret has had many sunny days out there, which is obviously a dig at saying that he has been sleeping with Sunny when he's got a wife and kids at home, and understandably Bret didn't take to that very well.
Shawn Michaels was sleeping with Sunny at the time.
It wouldn't surprise me.
He was. It's a fact. Like he was sleeping with her pretty much the whole time she was in WWF. She spoke about it like quite vocally, like a lot. It's not a secret at all. Mm-hmm. So obviously at the time, maybe not many people knew that, but he was actually having an affair with her at the time. So for him to come out and say that is a bit strange. I was literally reading something the other day about the Montreal Screwjob, like quite an in-depth article about it, and the fallout between Bret and Shawn had gone on for ages. And Bret Hart asked he got a contract off from WCW. They were offering him something stupid like $2.5 million a year, and WWE were paying him like 10% of that or something ridiculous. It was stupid, and he went to WWF and just said, look, if you can match this, you don't have not match it, but if you can make me a better offer, I want to stay where I am.
Yeah, WWF actually wanted him to leave because they'd offered him at, say, I don't know, let's say $1 million, I don't know, it's something along those lines.
I can't remember exactly the figures. This is what I was going to go on to say though. It was a lifetime contract,
25 years I think it was.
Yeah, where it was like a fight, like active roster, like main guy for 5 years, and then a legend contract for 10 years, and then a Hall of Fame contract for like another 10 years after that. And it was something like $20 million split over, or $18 million split over 10 years. And then they thought, oh fuck, I wish we didn't offer him this, and then sort of retracted it almost.
So Bret in fact did WWF at the time a big favour by moving on. They couldn't afford to pay him what they promised, which is, you know, not good business practice for any of them to just carry on with that.
Offered it.
Well, they just needed someone, because like you say, that WCW roster was so stacked at the time that think they just needed Brett so that they could try and compete, but in the end they couldn't do that either.
Yeah, they got rid of him in the end. So, but that was, maybe they offered it and then Austin started really blowing up and they thought, oh, maybe we've got something else we can run with and get rid of the Hitman, you know.
Yeah.
He wasn't really aging at the time though, was he? He was still pretty much in his prime. Was he in his mid-30s or something?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. As you said, that led into the Montreal Screwjob, but that's been spoken about a lot elsewhere. I think one of the key things to really talk about in this time for Shawn Michaels is that he's well known to just have been a gigantic prick.
Yeah, it's well documented. He was just a fucking arsehole, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah.
He had a lot of drug problems and alcohol problems and substance misuse, politicking behind the scenes.
Yep.
I think there was literally 3 or 4 times he flat refused to drop titles and lose matches, and then he would fake injuries and this whole, have you seen the Lost My Smile promo?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what that was to do with. I think it was the fans were booing him, and he was already pissed off because obviously Nash and Hall, who were his good friends within the clique, they'd already left and gone off to WCW, and Shawn was staying at WWF, and yeah, he lost his smile. The fans had turned on him, his mates had gone, he only really had Triple H who was left in that clique as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, because I think X-Pac had gone by that point as well, because he was in there as well, wasn't he? But...
And then one of the most frustrating things for WWF at the time, or maybe not considering how much of an arsehole he was that Shawn then herniated 2 discs in a casket match with The Undertaker. He was thrown against a casket, herniated 2 discs, very serious injury. But I was listening to JR's podcast the other day, and he said he's not sure how real that injury was. He doesn't doubt that the medical reports say 2 herniated discs. Did that mean that Shawn really had to sit out almost the entirety of the Attitude Era? JR's not so sure.
It was a long time, wasn't it? Because I remember, obviously I've gone back and watched it like quite a lot and listened to a lot of podcasts and stuff, so I know what was happening in the late 90s, but I didn't actually really start watching wrestling until probably 99 or 2000 is when I was old enough to actually know what was going on and remember it properly. There was no Shawn Michaels, because when he come back in 2002, had that run with Triple H with the SummerSlam match and everything else, I was like, oh my god, Shawn Michaels is back, and I didn't actually know who he was. Like the pop was outrageous and all the commentators knew who he was, but I was like watching, I didn't thinking, who is this dude? Is he like new or whatever? And I didn't know who he was. So
Shawn at that stage, he's dropped out because partially because he's herniated discs, partially because he's lost his smile, partially because he doesn't want to wrestle, and I think he's maybe too mentally unwell at the time because of substance abuse. A lot of things feeding into the situation, but Vince McMahon throughout this time is paying him $750k a year, which is not chump change in
Was he really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Fucking hell.
In the late 90s rather, paying him $750k to sit at home and do nothing, and JR would often in finance meetings say to Vince, what are we doing about the Shawn Michaels contract? And he would say, leave it. Apparently Vince would say to a lot of people, I see a bit of Shawn Michaels in myself.
Yeah, he loved him, didn't he? And no one could ever really understand why he loved him so much, but he did. I've heard the stories of him, like Kevin Nash on a podcast about him sitting in Vince's office with his like feet up on the desk, and Vince would like tell him to get out and he'd tell him to fuck off, and no one else would dream of motherfucking him in the whole company, but Michaels just didn't give a toss, and he would. But he was that good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's the thing. In a land full of literally 6'7" blokes who could barely move, he was something special at that time, wasn't he?
Definitely, and without trying to make this, basically just a recurrence of the JR podcast, he said something along the lines of Vince saw a lot of Shawn himself, e.g. that he was defiant, creative and highly strung, and JR basically went on to say that's true, but also both incredibly insecure, paranoid of their own shadow, and both worried about when the other shoe will drop. I don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah,
I gave it a quick Google, but apparently it's something to do with fears about what's going to happen in the future. I think it's just like a very deep set anxiety. Shawn used the Attitude Era to get off the pills, became a born again Christian, and then returned in 2002. And in my view, that second half of his career, if that's what you want to do, split it into that sort of late 80s to late 90s, and then that 2002 to 2010, I think the second half of his career is actually more impressive than the first.
Some of that, obviously you've got the Undertaker matches and all the rest of it that were fucking fantastic, but if you watch his 2002, 2003, so good, so good. The run, like the feud with Triple H, the ongoing feud with Triple H, and the Elimination Chamber, and the work with Jericho at WrestleMania 19 was just so fucking good, man, so good. None of that's going to make it on in this podcast anyway, so listen to us talking about it now.
So let's move on to Hulk Hogan. Tell us a bit about Hulk Hogan, Weston.
Like I said earlier, Hulk Hogan is wrestling. He is the man. He's a superhero. He's been doing the same gimmick for literally 30 years, and it's still so over. There's nothing. Look, he could do anything, and he is still the man. And like we say, he made wrestling what it is today.
Absolutely. Those promos that he does are absolutely incredible. They just make the fans go absolutely wild without trying to steal too much of his vernacular. But they get the crowd going and take your vitamins and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, say your prayers. You know, he is the most recognisable figure in wrestling.
Yep.
And I don't think there's any argument in that, because when I started watching wrestling, this was after I just started watching wrestling when I was about 12, and the whole Mr. America thing was going on. And me and my mum actually went to watch a SmackDown tour, and when I told her Mr. American was Hulk Hogan, do you remember when he was pretending to be Mr. America? She said, "Oh, Hulk Hogan! I can't believe he's still in it. I used to watch him when I was younger." And like, my nan knows who Hulk Hogan is. Like, everyone fucking knows who Hulk Hogan is. He is just legendary, isn't he? There's nothing. He can only do about 6 moves. He can't take a bump. He can hardly walk, but he could get in the ring and have a match with anyone, and he will beat them with the leg drop, and that's that. No one can beat him. He is a superhero.
And he held together wrestling right through until very early 90s, I think even sort of late 80s, when he then went off to do a bit of a misled Hollywood career. Wasn't in particularly anything good. I think there's a Rocky movie that was in that was actually pretty solid.
Did he fight with Mr. T in the Rocky movie? That's why Mr. T was at that WrestleMania.
Yeah, so anyone out there who's sick of seeing things like the zombies coming into the Damien Priest match a couple of months ago, remember, WWE or WWF has been promoting movies throughout its tenure. This is not a new thing. If you're going to complain about it now, then...
Yeah, get with it, mate. What about the Kane and the was it May the 14th gimmick? Do you remember that?
I don't know if I do know.
May the 14th was this date that Kane was in a film that was getting released on May the 14th. It was a WWE film, and then whenever he heard the date May the 14th, he just started going crazy, and then the storyline went nowhere, but that's when the day the film was getting released.
There's a hilarious thing I haven't watched Survivor Series yet. I don't really care for Survivor Series matches that much.
You don't like it, do you?
No, not really, but I'll catch up with it at some point, I'm sure. Becky vs Charlotte was an absolute barn burner, but during that there was actually a golden egg that showed up in Vince McMahon's office, and he was saying it's worth $100 million or something, and it was like to do with a recent Rock movie. The Rock never even showed up on his own 25th anniversary show.
Why?
I don't know. He posted on Instagram that he was getting pissed at home.
Fuck.
So promoting his movie, having a 25-year anniversary for him, he didn't even fucking
He's just getting on the piss at home. Fair play to him, Rock.
Yeah, that's right up my street. I'm a fan of that.
Hey, what the hell? Didn't even turn up to his own part. I'm surprised about that. Rock, if you listen to this, mate, shame on you. Shame on you, Dwayne. I'm very upset about that.
And yeah, Vince McMahon, wherever you're hiding the egg of Mantumbi, give it back. You motherfucker.
I haven't actually watched Survivor Series yet. I might have a quick look at that tonight when I get home, to be honest. But I like a Survivor Series match. I know you don't.
Yeah, there's a few good ones.
Yeah, of course there is.
So yeah, they went off to Hollywood. I'll get a lambasting from my brother if I don't talk about Mr. Nanny, which is about Hulk Hogan becoming a nanny, getting pranked by a bunch of kids, and then fighting a man with a steel head. So if you haven't watched it before, I recommend going away and watching the absolute ridiculousness
I
that
haven't
is
watched it yet.
Mr. Nanny. He then went to WCW.
Do you know why he went to WCW?
Go for it.
The Steroid Scandal.
Yes, I do know a bit about that. Yeah,
he actually sued WWF, didn't he?
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think he was part of the lawsuit against WWF, which was Vince McMahon was sort of pressuring wrestlers into taking steroids. Or he was maybe not pressuring them, but encouraging them, not frowning upon it. And because they had that big scandal, didn't they, where they had their own sort of on-side general practitioners who were just sort of writing prescriptions for anything they want, which is why they were all fucking drug addicts at the time. Definitely. And steroids was a main problem, because he was maybe pushing them on it. Maybe that's a bit too far, but not telling them not to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it eventually fell just in WWF's favour, was because they were able to say, well, he didn't tell them to do it, and therefore they just about got away with it. But I think it did cost them an awful lot in
legal fees and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Was that around the same time when they come out publicly and said, wrestling's not real?
I think it is.
And it's sports entertainment, and it's not sports, to get around the taxes they were having to pay, or the insurance that they were having to pay on it being a real sport.
Yeah, it was something along those lines. I don't remember exactly, but
I'm pretty sure Hogan didn't like that, the breaking of kayfabe, like on a massive level like that.
Yeah.
That was another reason why he left, I think.
in WCW became Hollywood Hogan. I think you're a fan of the Hollywood Hogan gimmick.
Oh, it's just brilliant, isn't it? It's just fantastic. Everything he does, it's just gold. It is. You know, he's just copied the superstar Billy Graham. Have you ever heard of that?
Don't think so.
So Google that when we get him in it. Superstar Billy Graham. Hulk Hogan just basically stole his gimmick, because this was a thing that used to do back in the day. Ric Flair was a stolen gimmick as well. The Nature Boy, the trunks that he wears, the bleached hair, the sparkling robe. That is a stolen gimmick. The figure forwards that other Nature Boys, and the Hulk Hogan gimmick is Superstar Billy Graham. Same moustache, hairdo, bleached hair, tights, all of it. Yeah.
I suppose it doesn't matter so much when you've got the territories and stuff, and you're not allowed to, encroach on other people's territories, until, of course, Vince McMahon did eventually do that.
Yeah, just stole the territories. Yeah, no, I think it was just a dumb thing. It was sort of like a passing of the torch. So there's one Nature Boy, and now there's another Nature Boy sort of thing. There's one. Well, he obviously wasn't called Hulk Hogan, but one superstar, and now there's another fucking superstar who's like doing the same shit as they got older. I think it was just a dumb thing. I'm gonna Google you a picture of him now just to make sure I got the name right. If not, we're gonna cut all this out and get the name right. I'm pretty sure it was him. Yeah, he's still got the tash.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly the same, isn't it? It's just that. Maybe we can get a picture of him when he was a wrestler. There you go. There he is. The same hair and the whole lot.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once WCW folded, Hulk Hogan,
like you said earlier, apparently he had a big thing to do with WCW folding, though, didn't he?
Yeah, and I wanted to get onto that. I mean, it would be unfair to talk about how much of an arsehole Shawn Michaels is without talking about how much of an arsehole Hulk Hogan is, because by any stretch he's probably actually outdone him, at least in the second half of Shawn Michaels' career. A lot of people talk about he was the biggest dickhead in wrestling until '97, and he's one of the nicest guys in wrestling when he came back from 2002 onwards, so at least he's got that. Hulk Hogan, on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff that he's done. For example, he was caught on film after he had been having sex with one of his wife's friends, I believe, talking about one of his daughter's partners who was black, using the N-word against them, and never really apologised. He went into the locker room at WWE and basically said, "I'm sorry for what I said," but apparently he sort of cushioned that with, "I didn't know anyone was filming," but he hasn't publicly apologised for it, and that's not good enough. I'm not one of those people who thinks like cancel culture or anything like that. If you are racist and you, for whatever reason, it could be socialised within the wrestling business, I understand that might be how he's been brought up, and that's why he's like that.
He's an older guy. It was less. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but it was less frowned upon back then, isn't it? It's like, and culturally, from where is he actually from? It might be a bit sort of behind the times, wherever he's from in America. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying there may be reasons behind it.
And like I said, I don't want anyone cancelled because they've done something bad, but what you do from that point onwards is you recognise that you did wrong, and then you go out of your way to change. I don't think Hulk Hogan's gone far enough in doing that for him to, be rolled out on WrestleMania every other year like he still is.
The thing is with Hulk, he's just gonna keep cash cowing the gimmick, isn't he?
Exactly. And I think that Vince is very much the same. If you can make me money, I think that he probably thought, I'm going to take Hulk Hogan away for a couple of years, and they took him out of the Hall of Fame very briefly.
Yeah, they did. They took his stuff off the network and that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then suddenly he was back, and I didn't feel like there was enough that warranted that return. Wes, tell us about the politicking as well.
Yeah, so he creative control, didn't he? Like massive creative control when he was in WCW. It was written in his contract, but I know he was just mates with Eric Bischoff. They would just get on the piss and they'd write their own storylines and stuff like that. So not only was he writing his own storylines, he was writing other people's storylines as well, I think, where he was like a lot to do with it. So if you was mates with him, you were getting main evented and pushed to the top, and if you weren't, you was getting fucked over a little bit basically. And his classic line that everyone says in all their podcasts, and that makes me laugh: "It doesn't work for me, brother. That doesn't work for me, brother."
And I think we'll get on to "that doesn't work for me, brother," because I think that comes up in this match specifically.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
But before we get on to that, we have our first game show on the Crap Wrestling podcast. So, the game is called Fake It Until You Shake It.
What the fuck is that, mate?
Alright, I've got another one for you. Shake it with a grain of salt.
Oh, God.
Shake a chance on me?
Is there more? Is there more?
Shake this to your grave. Alright, what about this one? 2 wrongs don't shake a right.
I don't know, to be fair. 2 wrongs don't shake a right. I'm going to go with that.
Good, that's a good one. That's
a good one, yeah.
That's probably a good
2
one.
wrongs don't shake a right.
Okay, it doesn't really work because his name was the Iron Sheik, not the Iron Sheik. But we were doing our best with it, or at least I was. So the aim of the game is I'm going to read out 5 tweets, potentially by the Iron Sheik, about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he fucking hates him, doesn't he?
And I want you to tell me whether they're real or not. And I will let you know at the end of the game whether you got them right or not.
Alright, mate. Yeah,
You ready? First one. Full disclosure, Hulk Hogan is a dumb son of a bitch.
Yeah. I'm going to say that Sheik wrote that.
Okay, so the first one you saying is real. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. In full capitals, by the way.
Yeah, always in full capitals if it was a Sheik, definitely.
New York Jets worse than the Hulk Hogan, and he is the biggest jabroni of the earth.
Yeah, he definitely wrote that. Definitely.
Okay, how about this one? Hulk Hogan, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from telling you to go fuck yourself.
I'm going to say no because it feels like it's in too good of English to be the Iron Sheik that wrote that.
Number 4. Hogan, bo broken, banana fanner, break your fucking neck, fee-fi, fuck yourself, ho Hogan.
Yeah, definitely.
You think that's what?
Yeah, 100%.
How is that real? How is that more real than the ain't no mountain high enough one?
Because it just fucking does. It's not in very good English.
Well, I'd like to tell you, Weston, that you got 3 out of 4. Congratulations.
It's not bad going, is it?
They're actually all true.
Are they all true, are they? He wrote that long song. How did he manage that?
He wrote the lot.
I'm not having the. You see that song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough? I don't think he wrote that. I reckon someone had control of his Twitter.
It's quite possible.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it was definitely him, but I personally thought the last one was the best one. I'm shocked that you said that was real, but it is just bizarre enough to be the Sheik. Or
exactly. Yeah, it's just weird enough to be him. I like the Sheik. I like him a lot. He's Iranian, like my grandfather, and he's very, very good at wrestling, like my grandfather was. Amateur wrestling, pro wrestling, all sorts of wrestling.
See, Weston's got a wrestling background.
I have, yes.
Me,
Amateur.
I don't have a wrestling background. I can barely wrestle with my own emotional well-being most of the time. I have to wrestle myself out of bed this morning when I'm in a pit of anxiety.
Yeah, so yeah, I've got some wrestling background. Yeah.
Okay, next section. I enjoyed the game show.
Is that gonna come back?
It will come back, but it probably won't be about the Sheik because he doesn't write about other wrestlers like that.
He writes sometimes about other people. We just have to cover, like, he doesn't know the Ultimate Warrior either, I don't think.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
What was the story in the lead up to the match, West?
It was supposed to be a 3-match series, wasn't it? But Hulk Hogan said, that doesn't work for me, brother. Oh, no. But yeah, it was supposed to be a 3-match series with Hogan winning one, Michaels winning one, and then Hogan winning the final match. And he said, that doesn't work for me, brother. And then he came back and said, actually, I've got a better idea. We're going to have a 2-match series. And I'm going to win one, and then I'm going to win the second one. And Shawn Michaels said, no, that doesn't work for me, brother. So they decided that it was going to be 1 match. He didn't care about the pay-per-view money of working more matches and didn't care about making it longer and still looking the best because he wouldn't lose at all. Yeah. If they were having a 10-match series, he was going to win every single one clean. And if they were having but they decided that it was going to be 1 match only, and he was going to win, obviously. Of course he was going to win.
But yeah, I do find it funny that Hogan was just like, I'm going to win both matches. It's just like, what's the fucking point of that, you big red idiot?
No.
Fuck's sake.
It's because he's the best. He's Hulk Hogan. Like, there's nothing. He should win every single match. He is. This is. Look, we're talking about wrestling. We're not talking about shoot fighting.
Yeah.
He is wrestling. He is the best. He is the Hulkster. It just doesn't. He should win, and he does. I agree with it. I'm sorry.
I'm just into this alternate reality, I should say, where they have 3 matches. And they're 3 amazing matches. You know, Shawn wins the first one, probably screwy finish, which is fine because Hogan wouldn't even care about a screwy finish. He wouldn't even be that bothered by it. No, and then have Hogan win the next 2, and then you don't get all this overselling bullshit that we were, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how much you enjoy it. It is funny.
I quite like it because it's Hogan, and he could do that to someone because he is that strong. He could punch someone, and they could do 20 backflips around the ring and fly out the ropes. Because this is wrestling. If you're gonna going back to the Undertaker, as I say, I'm not caning him because I like the gimmick.
Yeah.
But if you're going to believe someone could get buried alive and that he was a zombie or whatever he was before that, and he's going to come back from the dead as a biker, then there's no reason why Hulk Hogan shouldn't win every single match that he's in.
Yeah,
more or less.
It's a fair point. I would just like to see 3 good matches between these two. But yeah, I understand why Hulk Hogan was probably just trying to protect his character, which he's well known for doing. But yeah, they could have made a few more extra dollars out of it between the two of them. And,
he's not capable of having a good match. He's a 65-year-old man or whatever. He can barely fucking walk. He can't take a bump. Every match they had would have been exactly the same.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
If he was going to win all 3,
yeah,
maybe you could have a shitty finish in one of them, but for the most part, what is going to be different about those matches, really?
Yeah, I think that's actually a fair point. I think you've changed my mind. Maybe this was the best way to go about it.
But the thing is, with this just goes back to Michaels being a dick.
Yeah.
All this overselling stuff. Because he worked like, yeah, fair enough, I don't mind it, I think it's funny and it's quite a good match. Realistically, it's not the worst. I understand why it's in the crap wrestling thing, because it is crappy, the stupidness. But it just goes back to him not wanting to do business and just being a fucking prick.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And just about the storylines, I guess, going into it, I mean, that's sort of the shoot story about it, but the kayfabe story is that Michaels wants a tag partner, and he is basically calling out Hogan, come and be my tag partner. Seems to be doing a pretty good job of it.
I think they were a good tag team, weren't they?
Yeah.
Mate, that'd be such a sick angle, mate, them two on a run for the tag team championships. That would have been fucking well good.
Man, if Hogan wins every match, then Hogan and Michaels, they should still be champions now.
That's what I mean. Like, but that would have been good though, wouldn't it? If they just went on a mad run for the tag team championships or something, that would have been so over.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. Michaels then turned on him, bit of a war of words between them. Michaels talks about recreating himself every night, whereas Hogan's been living off his character for 30 odd years, which is true, somewhat true, but also he did do that Hollywood Hogan stint, so not 100%
like
in agreement.
Years, wouldn't it? But he can. So unlucky, Shawn Michaels, that you have to recreate yourself, and Hulk Hogan can just do the same thing, and you can't. But I'm not having it, because Shawn Michaels has been doing the same thing since he fucking super kicked Marty Jannetty through the window. He's done nothing different, really and truly, and it works, and he's good, but still. In
the intro package, one of the bits that I really enjoyed was you see Hogan and Michaels on this, I guess they're little like lecterns, them little tables that you'd see like, I don't know, a university lecturer.
Yeah. They borrowed it off Shane Douglas.
They borrowed it off Dean Douglas. But it looks like they're in a game show against each other, possibly a game of fake it till you shake it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. In
fact, I would definitely have been that. But I quite like the idea of a Hogan vs Michaels game show. Hogan vs Michael game of catchphrase.
I can't imagine Hulk Hogan to be very good at catchphrase.
Why?
It's like all the things that he is good at. I can't imagine intelligence is one, or not even intelligence. What is catchphrase? Is it a general knowledge game, or?
It's where you have that little Mr. Chips guy, and he starts doing an action, and you have to guess what the catchphrase is.
Yeah, I just can't imagine Hulk Hogan would have the mental capacity to be good at anything like that. He's only good at fighting and beating people up and stuff.
He'd just be really annoyed at Mr. Chips all the time.
Yeah, he'd leg drop him, wouldn't he?
That catchphrase don't work for me, brother.
Yeah. He'd like, boing, point to Shawn Michaels. That don't work for me, brother. He'd point to him, wouldn't it?
Booting the screen, and
yeah, he couldn't lose.
Yeah, and then we get some good stuff about immortality, which is obviously like Hulk Hogan's gimmick.
Oh, I was going to say, there's a bit that Shawn Michaels does in the run-up to this. You may well have seen it before anyway. It's like he does a skit interview when he pretends to be Hulk Hogan, dresses up as him.
Yes, and he kicks...
Super kicks whoever's interviewing him. I can't actually remember who it is, but fucking... Everyone says how funny it is and that, but he's just really ragging on Hogan for being old and stuff like that. And yeah, like, obviously, I've got a soft spot for Hogan, I love him. But it just fucking... It don't strike me as being that funny. It's just like blurring the lines of what's being out of order just for the sake of being out of order. It's not. It's just like a bit. I found it in a bit of bad taste, to be honest. I watched it and I just thought it's just a bit rude. It's like, yeah, fair enough, you're gonna give it to someone in kayfabe, so you can pretty much say whatever you want about that person. But obviously, Shawn Michaels had a very bitter taste in his mouth about not getting given the win, didn't like it, and he was just being a prick.
Definitely, maybe in a similar way to as he gave that Sunny Days program.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it struck me as. And you could say, oh yeah, well, he will be able to say, oh yeah, we was having a feud, so I just wanted to make the angle seem more extreme and everything. But it just seemed to me like he was being a bit of a dickhead.
And again, fantastic intro package. They always are far. I feel like if we're talking about WWE or WWF, then we're always going to be talking about these great intro packages. But yeah, I had a bit of the goosebumps towards the end of it, a bit of the shivers.
It is good. It is good. It's very good.
Yeah, even if you don't feel like going back and watching this match, go and watch that intro package, and it probably will make you want to watch the match, even though the matches are not up there with the best. But
I think it's worth watching the run up and the match. Definitely, I would definitely say go back and watch it. I would go back and watch it again, even after watching it all recently. For this, I'd still go back and watch it again. Like I said, I've watched the match about 10 times.
Okay, great. We're going to go away and watch the match together, and we'll be back to talk to you about it soon after. Okay, so we're back. We have just watched Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 2005. Weston, any overarching thoughts about the match?
I like it. That's all I've got to say. I do like it. I really like it. I like Hulk Hogan. I like Shawn Michaels. I like the match.
Yeah, I think every time I watch it, it gets a bit better in my view. It's obviously got some of the hilarity in it that we'll talk about in time. But yeah, every time I watch it, I feel like it just feels that little bit better. There's just so much, I don't know, pizzazz out of the between the two. It's just
I think it's easy to watch that match because, as I did say to you while we was watching it, it was 10 minutes before the first move. Yeah, maybe 15 minutes. It was a body slam, so it's easy to watch that match with blinkered glasses, one track view. And if you're sitting here with someone going, "This is fucking terrible," all you hear about this match is it's shit, then it'd probably be easy to sit there and go, "This is fucking awful." Does that make sense?
Yeah,
but when you're
definitely
sitting here with me going, "No, there's nothing wrong with this. This is good," and then you actually watch the match and you think, "Oh, really? There isn't actually much wrong with it as a match."
Yeah, yeah. You were saying that you prefer a match that has story, that's a mediocre match, over a really good wrestling match with no story.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this covers a bit of that.
Yeah, 100%. It's like what Jim Ross says about AEW, where it's just like people flipping out of the ring in every match. That statement that he made, it's just flips for the sake of flips.
Sure,
it's like, I like it when it's good, but if you're just fucking front flipping around the ring, you're no longer a wrestler. You're just a gymnast.
And you've got this incredible character of Hulk Hogan. You've got this incredible technical skill of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, definitely.
As well as, he's not a nothing of a character, but his in-ring performance is always exceptional. And even though there's no moves, the way it's sort of strung together is quite impressive.
Yeah, they're always in the right place at the right time. Neither of them step a foot wrong. There's no botches. There's it's of course, because it's what you expect from Hulk Hogan, and it's what you expect from Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
So the Hulk Hogan can barely fucking move in this match. He can't do anything, and he can't take a bump, but he doesn't need to anymore.
He's done that stuff already. He's already shown his worth to the wrestling world.
What I was going to say is he doesn't need to, because he's telling the story with not taking these excessive bumps for the sake of taking bumps and spots for the sake of spots. They don't need to always be in there to tell a good story and have a good match. That's what we learn from this.
So if we start from the beginning, it's usually a good place to start.
Definitely.
So Michaels makes his way out to the ring, and his glorious sexy boy ring entrance music plays.
His own sung it himself. Sexy Boy by Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, him and Sherry. I find Shawn Michaels' voice absolutely hilarious. I think that if you had a Muppet and Shawn Michaels' voice was to come out of it, it would be the most popular Muppet of all time. He's got this like gruff voice that just cracks me up.
I don't like the fact that Shawn Michaels sung his own music and it's "I'm a sexy boy, I'm a sexy boy." It's just fucking weird. It's so fucking horrible. It's so awkward. I hate it.
You mean to say that you don't go around telling people that you're a sexy boy?
I might do, but I might not word it like that.
How would you word it?
Not, "I'm just a sexy boy." That's not how I would word it.
My problem with the song is that Shawn says he's just a sexy boy, and in my view, Michaels is more than that.
He's more than a pretty face.
He's more than a sexy boy. Shawn Michaels, we're all about positive mental health on this podcast, and you're more than a sexy boy.
Yeah, you are not just a piece of meat, Shawn, so don't think yourself.
You're also a good Muppet voice. Michaels, I wouldn't say he gets the biggest pop as he comes out. I was a bit surprised by that. I mean, I know he's working heel, but for me, if I'm at this match, it wouldn't matter what Shawn Michaels done, whether he's switching music, Hulk Hogan, an interviewer. I wouldn't care if Shawn Michaels was to shit himself live on stage in the WWE in the ring, and it landed in Hulk Hogan's mouth. I would be cheering my arse off at the moment his music played.
I think he is working heel going into this match, but it could be face versus face. He does get a pop. It's not massive though. It's not what he would usually get if he was going face. But then, is the crowd just saving himself for Hulk Hogan? Because
yeah. I mean,
are they not anti Shawn Michaels and just pro Hulk Hogan? If that makes sense. They're just indifferent to Shawn Michaels because it's Hogan.
Yeah.
And it's the first match he's had for fucking like 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah, and you want someone to cheer either way. Yeah, when you're watching a wrestling match, I know it is great when you've got two wrestlers and you just don't even know who you want to win because you can kind of cheer both of them. But yeah, it's undoubted that Shawn definitely works heel in this match. He does a lot of very heelish things throughout. Hogan's music plays and we get one of the biggest pops in wrestling history.
It is so fucking over. I did say that to you. If you just look around the crowd, there's so many. Every single sign's a Hogan sign. There's so many Hogan shirts. There's just fucking everyone's just screaming Hogan, Hogan before the match start. Before his music hits, sorry. He is so fucking over going into this. Massive, and the pop is the fucking ceiling comes off the place. It is electric, and it really, really is.
It's so electric that it electrocutes Shawn Michaels multiple times during the match.
Yeah, it fucks his brain up. That's why he's fucking. That's how this happens.
Yeah, and Hogan has great music as well. Yeah, I think that's undoubted. As much of a twat as he is as a bloke, in my opinion. You know.
Do you know what I wondered? Because this is the network version that we were watching. Mm-hmm. He had that Jimi Hendrix music, didn't he, at the time? And they played the Mr. America, or that's what he had in 2002 run. And they're playing Mr. America in this. Is it that he had the Jimi Hendrix music, but he didn't have they haven't got the rights to play it on the network?
Honestly, no idea.
Or is it the Mr. America?
I reckon if he's coming out face, I reckon they're playing
the Mr. America music.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, maybe.
That's what I would think they would do.
But and it doesn't matter because either way, iconic music.
They start by locking up and Hogan wins the strength test and he pushes Michaels over. Quite like this. I know in the last match we were talking about that I was quite frustrated by the lockups and stuff, but it was more because they had just walked around for ages. In this, I've got no problem with that, the strength test, and Michaels recognising that he's not quite up to the test. I didn't mind this at all.
It's in a different vein. I think it's because you know it's going somewhere because you've seen this match before. I think maybe when you watch that Lesnar Goldberg match for the first time and you see him lock up, you thought, oh yeah, it's going to happen now. But it doesn't, nothing happens, you know? And then knowing that, when you watch it, you think, oh, for fuck's sake. But knowing this is actually going somewhere, you watch it and you think, oh yeah, this is normal.
Yeah, and that was the normal part of the match. We got that, and then for the next 10 minutes or so, we get some hilarious overselling. So Hogan then gives a shoulder charge to Michaels, and he starts flopping around like a fish. He's flopping around on the floor.
This is the start of it, isn't it? Yeah.
And then he flies through the ropes, and it's hilarious. It's really worth watching. But I think there's a lot of talk out there about Michaels. He did this because he wanted to kind of get vengeance on Hogan being a dick to him backstage. Is that your understanding of it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just to make the match seem fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because he thought, if I'm going to get beaten, then I'm going to make it sort of look like I'm getting beaten in a fake sort of way, make it look shit.
Well, they're moving some chops from Michaels, and we were talking about while we were watching the match. Does Michaels have an incredible worked punch, or I suppose the chops don't make a difference, but have they gone through this before the match that I'm going to chop the shit out of you because...
Michaels, Hogan's not working any different to normal. Michaels is working so stiff in this. Like there's the bit after the chops where he slaps Hogan in the face and he slaps him so hard and Hogan visibly looks pissed off. It's like a look you don't normally see coming out of his mush.
Yeah. He's normally, the ultimate kayfabe, isn't he? But in this situation, he's getting chopped, he's getting slapped in the face, and he looks pretty furious about it.
I think it would be hard not to look pissed off if you was to get slapped in the face that hard and not expect it. Do you know what I mean? And you can really see sort of like the expression on his face is that he wasn't expecting that.
And then Hogan, and I think this was one of your favourites, Weston. Hogan then gives the Irish whip to Michaels into the corner. What happens next, West?
Yeah, Michaels ends up. I don't even know the word for the spot, but he's like a shelf in between the two ropes in the corner. Hogan runs across the ring and boots him, and Michaels fucking springs off the ropes, lands back, and this goes on like 2 or 3 times, ending in Michaels fucking flying like 3 foot off the ropes and crotching himself on the rope on his way back down.
Yeah, head to IKEA, get yourselves a Shawn Michaels shelf.
Shawn Michaels corner shelf.
But don't kick it, it will go about 15 feet in the air.
It might crotch itself.
Yeah. I don't know if you said this already, but then he lands on his bollocks.
Crotches himself.
Yeah. And then Hogan bounces him up and down a few times. But yeah, the height that Michaels is getting off the...
It's extraordinary.
It's hilarious. Hogan drives Michaels' head into the turnbuckle. Michaels jumps up onto the second rope. and does a 180 somersault onto his back. It's honestly the acrobatics and the athleticism that it takes to make this sort of gymnastic spot is impressive, but it is so funny.
I was going to say, Shawn Michaels is not known for his like lucha style of wrestling, but judging from this, he's got it. He's more agile than Rey Mysterio in some of his overselling. He could put on a mask, go to Mexico, and he could lucha better than any luchador.
Then see some nice heel work by Michaels. He gives a thumb to the eye into Hogan. Hogan gives the back body drop, and Michaels flops around some more.
Does a roly-poly as well, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Off the back body drop.
Then we get my spot of the match. So last week we had Lesnar's blur, and this week we've got this. Hogan clotheslines Michaels over the ropes. He lands on his feet outside of the ring. Suddenly does a front somersault. Lands on his back. Stands up. Twists around. Gets caught in the camera wires. Stands up again. Then falls over again. And it is a sequence of events that is just so laughable.
He is writhing in agony. He falls to the floor and he front flips from the sheer pain of how strong Hulk Hogan is. Pushed him, Irish wheel, whatever you want to call it, clotheslined him over the ropes.
Yeah.
It has caused him that much pain that he is front flipped. I believe it.
Yeah, so funny.
I'm sold.
We then fall into a few minutes of normality here. So it's like we've been saying that, you know, it's not a crap match all the way through. There's some good bits, and we get some more chops. Yeah, a lot of these chops, and you really feel like Michaels really wants to punish Hogan for his sort of politicking during this. You said about him working stiff earlier, and I really enjoyed the next bit where basically Hogan starts landing a couple of punches on Michaels, and JR gives my commentary of the night where he says, Hogan hitting him with those ham-like hands.
I think I've heard him say that before, ham-like hands.
And it's so funny to me because Hogan is the reddest wrestler in history, and I realise that he is actually a big ham.
He's a massive ham.
He is...
He is gammon.
Hulk Hamgan.
He is the same colour as a smoky bacon crisp.
Hulk Hogan.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so Michaels, I've just thought now. See, Michaels is working heel in this match.
Yeah.
And those chops and that, they're devastating. Yeah, he is working stiff. But it does add to something because Hogan's the face. You're supposed to feel sorry for the face, aren't you? You're supposed to, and it looks like he's getting hurt, and you're watching this like grimacing, thinking, "Oh my god, that must have fucking hurt so much." I want him to stop doing that to you. I want you to get your own back. It's like the sympathetic baby face, like whole thing, and it works.
Definitely, because we were talking about, oh my god, if Michaels is working us and making us think that he just hates Hogan, he did his job here. I like to be worked in wrestling. I don't mind it. I know some people are like, they never work me. I don't mind being worked. If this is a work from Michaels to make us think he really hates Hulk Hogan, he's done his fucking job.
We might be sitting here doing a podcast thinking we're smart marks and we know what we're talking about, and we are getting suckered. And by all means, if that is the case, then fucking fair play. Because if he's just working heel and he just wants it to look stiff and wants us to be sympathetic towards Hulk Hogan, then he's doing a good job. Which now we're talking about it now could be potential that it could be that. So fair play to him if he is. But he is working stiff nevertheless, and I do feel sorry for Hulk Hogan nevertheless. But either way.
Yeah, the next part of this match is really about Michaels really throwing stiff punches. But I was saying I think he was trying to bust open Hogan hard way so he didn't have to blade, but he just keeps on punching him and throwing him back into the corner and punching him, and I think eventually Hogan just kind of falls. The referee wrestles them apart, and then Hogan, I reckon he blades himself just so he can get out of the way of being potatoed by Shawn any longer.
He does blade. It's a big blade job as well. He's fucking gushing out bad. There's a lot of blood in this match, considering there's not a lot of weapon uses there really.
Nah. And Hogan looks amazing with his blood pouring out like
his ham-like head.
Hogan's blonde hair, or what there is left of it, looks great against the blood. I'm a bit indifferent to blood these days. Like as an Attitude Era kid, I loved a bit of the blood. What did JR used to call it?
Viscous fluid.
Red viscous liquid. Yeah, I loved a bit of red viscous liquid in the Attitude Era. I was a big Cactus Jack fan, and he obviously had quite a lot of blood in his matches with Triple H. These days, when I see it, I'm just like shocked it happens, because these days in WWE at least, which is where I watch the most of my wrestling.
Because we're conditioned to watching WWE, like that's why if you think outside the box and you watch other stuff, then you still see it all the time. I like it if it's done right. We were talking about that during the match, about death matches and stuff. I don't like it. I like hardcore to an extent. I don't like death matches. I don't like people killing themselves for no reason.
Yeah.
I don't like ultra violence. Blood, if done right and telling a story, like in this match, it works perfectly well. Definitely. They've done a real good job of it in this match.
You don't want blood for the sake of blood.
No, of course not.
A bit of blood in a match is fine.
It's supposed to be shocking.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like, oh fuck, he's getting beaten up here. Like, what the hell? Like, it's supposed to tell. If you go into a match and the first thing that happens is someone fucking blades and it's the same every single match, it's not shocking anymore.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier about these parts of the match being sort of strung together perfectly by these absolute masters of the game that they both are. That often in this deathmatch wrestling, they're not strung together. It's spot and spot and spot, and it becomes a bit much to watch sometimes.
Scraps. No one likes a spot fest today. Realistically,
yeah.
It's good to see spots done well. There's got to be a reasoning to that. Me and you could go in the back garden and fucking smash each other in the head with stuff.
Yeah, we could.
It doesn't mean it's good. It's just, it is what it is. Or like I said about gymnasts earlier, you could get fucking someone from the local gymnastics club to do front flips while I smash you in the head with a fucking sledgehammer and you slash me in the head with whatever.
Light chips.
And it's not good, is it? It's not good. Crap.
Exactly. It's finding your place in the ring and all that sort of thing that makes wrestling amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said about this match, it's on a crap wrestling podcast, but it's not crap match.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a fucking good match.
It's not all crap.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's not all crap. Michaels then puts in the sleeper for a while, which with the blood pouring out of Hogan's head and it's going all over Michaels' arm. It's an amazing picture, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good, like we was moaning about rest hold. This is the chin lock. This is the rest hold of the week this week, and I'm going to give this chin lock. This is getting a good 9 out of 10. This one because it's such a picture.
9 out of 10 on the chin lock scale.
Yeah, this is a good chin lock because of with the cut in his head. He's squeezing his head nice and hard, making it go pinker than it already was, and there's just blood gushing out of it. So yeah, this is 9 out of 10 on the chin lock scale. I can't see there being much better chin locks than this.
Come for the crap wrestling, stay for the chin locks. It then gets turned into a backdrop, then a forearm from Michaels turns into Michaels going in for the elbow from the top. He misses it. Hogan then starts to hulk up and Michaels goes again for the forearm and we get a ref bump. We then see, in my view, I think this might be the worst sharpshooter I've ever seen. I know The Rock is the king of shit sharpshooters, but this really does take it to a new level.
It's fucking awful. It's so bad. And Hulk Hogan doesn't bend. He's too old and too beaten up, and his legs are too made of metal now to bend. And Shawn Michaels is so much smaller than him. It just doesn't work. I haven't seen him do many other sharpshooters. I know he did obviously the famous one to Brett, but other than that, he's not known for doing sharpshooters, is he?
No, I think it might be a weight problem, like as in like Hogan is probably just so heavy for him because there's a size difference between the two of them.
Yeah, and Hogan's legs are made of metal as well. So I don't know if there's knees and hips are completely titanium. So
yeah, for the sharpshooter, we then get Hogan makes the ropes, and then we get another ref bump. And while the ref's down, second ref, Michaels hits a low blow, another good heel move for him, and then Michaels gets a chair, and we get a headshot with it, which again,
it's an unprotected headshot as well.
Yeah, much like the blood, it kind of got me by surprise. I mean, I've watched this a lot over the last couple of weeks for the podcast, but it doesn't catch me by surprise anymore. But when I first saw it, I was like, shit, I haven't seen that in a while.
Even in 05, I think they were quite big on no unprotected hair shots. Hair shots? He's definitely not getting an unprotected hair shot, mate. Jesus.
He could do with an unprotected hair shot.
Yeah, definitely. But I think they were quite big on no unprotected headshots with chairs even then, weren't they?
Yeah.
It is surprising.
What's your view on headshots with chairs?
Done right, I like it. If you're watching a hardcore match, I really do. I think obviously you want them to get their hands up. You don't want to see a fucking just knowing how much damage it can do to the brain. Definitely. I don't want wrestlers hurting themselves.
Yeah.
I like watching wrestling. I like wrestlers. Wrestlers are good. I don't want them fucking killing themselves. I don't want them to end up fucking disabled or brain dead or whatever.
I think the Benoit situation probably was one of the big things that changed the rulings on that, I guess, or how people felt about it. No one wants to see that again. But yeah, I mean, getting your hands up, I don't know. I still think that's too much, but I can see why that seems.
Yeah, of course, no, I get that. But yeah, with this, it's just completely unprotected, and it's just it is a bit shocking to see. Shawn Michaels is working a good heel in this match.
Yeah.
He's been a fucking savage, isn't he? Like, it's a side of Shawn Michaels you don't really see.
Yeah, you really do start hating him. We then get the elbow from the top, which is picture perfect. He always does it perfectly, from what I know anyway. I'm sure we'll get some people sending no actually, but still.
Crap elbow drop.
This is the Crap Shawn Michaels elbow podcast.
This one's not on it anyway.
No, it follows up from the El Hebner podcast. So yeah, we get the elbow, we get the switch in music, and then we get the pin, and Hogan kicks out, and then you start seeing the hulking up again, and that's when you get this stuff that's like it's bizarre wrestling stuff, but I don't know, I love it.
Yeah, this is when Hogan kicks out, hulks up, Irish whip, big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3, bosh. Yep. That is it. That is how Hogan wins everything.
Yeah, I mean, just before that, we get a final big oversell of the match, which I obviously really love. But yeah, as you say, Hogan comes in with a leg drop and gets the win. And yeah, I mean, the second half of that match is solid. It's decent. There's debate about whether this belongs on a crap wrestling podcast. Is it crap wrestling? It has crap bits. There's, for example, the sharpshooter, and the overselling makes it one of the most famous matches of all time, if not the actual quality. I think a legend match really done well is The Rock versus Hogan, and that's going to be my recommendation if you want to see a really good Hogan match. WrestleMania 18, that's in my opinion how you do a legends match. Fantastic stuff, even though, as similar to this, there's not a huge amount of amazing wrestling moves, particularly on Hogan's part.
He doesn't, like we said, he doesn't need to, does he? He just knows what he's doing so well. He knows how to work a crowd, he knows how to tell a story, he's been doing it for so many years. It's just like the ending of that match, Hulk up, big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. It's just iconic. It's just part of his character, and when he starts hulking up, you know what's coming and you love it. But he tells such a good story as a babyface that you just want him to win. You always want him to win. It's brilliant. If you want my recommendation for a Hogan match, Vince McMahon Hogan Street Fight WrestleMania 19. Such a good build, and obviously Vince McMahon's not a wrestler, we know that. They beat the absolute shit out of each other. Like I was going to say, I don't like people just fucking killing themselves for no reason, but it's all well done. Yeah, it's a good street fight, and it's a fucking brilliant match.
I think really good strong style wrestling is up there with some of the best. Like for me, Walter is one of my favourite wrestlers, and he really goes strong in on those punches and kicks and clotheslines and chops and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I really don't mind wrestlers working strong as long as it's not to the extent where they're risking their lives and risking their brain capacity and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. There's a difference between a good street fight and fucking CZW, which is just fucking rubbish. They're just hurting each other for no apparent reason.
Yeah, and the final little shots that we get of this match is Hogan obviously does his ears to the crowd, and then finally we get the handshake between the two. And if you're hoping to see a bit of Michaels be a babyface, you get a little shot of that here, and that's absolutely fine.
Equilibrium's restored, Michaels is a babyface again. So
Weston, what is your review for today's match, with 0 being passable and -5 being absolutely crap?
Oh, it's so passable. It's a 0.
It's a 0 for you?
Yeah, it's so passable. It's good. I'm sorry, Toad. I know you think there's crap bits in it, but as I said, I like crap wrestling. I like soap opera wrestling, and I believe that Hulk Hogan is strong enough to make someone do a front flip in sheer pain. So it is a 0 from me. I would even give it a 1 if we could go that high, but we're not allowed. So
you can't.
0. Yeah, 0.
For me, I feel like I'm gonna move my rating based on my viewing today, but I had it as a -2, and I feel like hearing your 0 is gonna sway me. So I'm gonna stick with my -2, and as I say,
very harsh, very harsh.
This is where I get my wrestling experience. Is where Weston's going to beat a shit out of me, for my opinion here, fairly. And yeah, my reason for the -2 is the selling, it pulls you out of it a little bit. And I know these aren't wrestlers who are fully known for their making this look like a real fight and all that sort of thing. That's not their style. But at the same time, it pulls you so out of the reality when you're laughing at things that are supposed to be, a serious fight. I don't feel like that makes it good for me personally. But I also get why you might enjoy it too. But yeah, -2 from me. Okay, next section. I know we didn't get a chance to do this last time because we were still sort of working out the kinks and stuff. But we've had some comments in from social media. So we are on Twitter as crap_wrestling. That's crap_wrestling. We have at Wrestling Fans F1 who says, I don't remember the match much, but Shawn Michaels was a dick before he found religion. I wouldn't mind hearing your opinions on this. And again, I think this is true. He was a dick before he found religion. I don't know if that was the main reason for him changing around. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It's hard to say. Could be to do with that he got the support he needed for his substance abuse problems. But for whatever reason, Shawn Michaels certainly was a dick before, and I think he has been possibly a lot better since then.
You give a man in their early 20s and whatever, and they're juiced up on fucking steroids and testosterone's going mad, and you give them a celebrity status and the run of a mill and a fucking load of drugs. I think it'd turn a lot of people into a dick, to be honest. So
yeah.
He had no discipline, did he? Because Vince was never going to tell him off. So
exactly. One of the really interesting things that I heard about Michaels was that he said that he had reached the absolute pinnacle of where he dreamed he could possibly get to by the age of 28. He was thinking, I don't really have anywhere else to go from here, and it just took away his motivation. He didn't need to go any further than that. It must be incredibly tricky to achieve all of your wildest dreams. I don't think, I'm certainly not in a position where I can say that yet, but if I was to, I feel
I'm sitting here next to you on this podcast.
Damn right. But yeah, I mean, if you were to achieve your wildest dreams, how do you motivate yourself beyond that? It's a really tricky one.
We have spoke about it a lot.
Yep.
And yeah, give a young man in his 20s, in his physical prime, and he's fucking testosterone up to the max, and he's pissed off because he's been on the road non-stop, and he's rich, and he's at the pinnacle of the company, and then fucking get him out of his nut, and I'm sure the majority of people would be a dick. I know I would be. He's grown up, and that's a simple fact. He's knocked the drugs on the head, and he's grown up, and he's a family man, and whatever else, and he's changed his ways. So fair play to him.
Sure.
Have a pat on your back, Shawn Michaels, mate.
Exactly,
well done.
exactly. Fair play, Shawn Michaels. So that was Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 2005. I've been Matt Burgess.
I've been Weston Hughes.
Follow us on Twitter at crap_wrestling. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more crap wrestling and even more crap podcasting.
Yeah. Any more comments as well? I really like that. Honestly, this made me really proud. Thank you very much. And Dan as well, because he commented he wanted to hear about the nanny, didn't he?
Mr. Nanny and the still-headed man, absolutely.
Any more comments, send them our way. I really, really liked that. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks everyone. Mercifully, it's over.
Oh, I weren't expecting that again. I didn't think that was... I don't think it'll ever not be funny, that one.
The Bob Ross leader's here! Champion Angel!
He's also suffering from anal bleeding. What?
Is this match still going on? The dog poop! A right bottom and a dog poop! Mercifully, it's over.